Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, what's going on? How are you, sir?
Good morning, Brian. I am doing very well. I'm all is well. How about with you?
All is well. Happy Sunday morning to you. We've had a change in schedule because of other scheduling responsibilities. So
right.
I appreciate your flexibility.
You bet. Beautiful day. We're out of we had a last couple of days of deep freeze again. I'm glad we're on our way out of that. Oof.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be in the 60s this week, so that's a beautiful thing. In Virginia, anyways. Not sure where you are listening or watching from.
It really is true, at least for me. I'll speak for myself. You don't like the cold weather as much as you, get a little older. I mean, I'm not old, but I'm older than I was yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know about all that getting old stuff, but I'll let you know when I get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had enough. I've had enough of really cold this particular winter. I'm ready for spring. And
Yeah,
I think it's arriving.
Yep.
It's
on the way.
It's on the way.
All right. So what do you want to talk about today?
I know the topic. It's your topic today. I'm not angry about it at all. And so
do you find yourself getting angry about our topics often?
I can't really think of a single time, and this is one more time that I'm not. So yeah,
right. Still batting 1,000 then, or
right,
100 or whatever. Yeah,
still batting 100. Right, that's pretty good, all things considered. So I don't know. Is that helpful to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we should talk about anger. Want to? The anatomy of anger.
The anatomy of anger. Okay.
What is it?
I don't know. You tell me.
So here's what I think about anger. I think anger, well, certainly it's an emotion. And I think anger is a tool, right? It's a tool that we have in our toolbox. And I think that's a good way to think about it, right? Because when you talk about tools, you utilize tools to do things, right? To accomplish things. And at the same time, you don't let that tool control you, right? You're in charge of the tool, and you get to choose how you use it, and maintain control over it. And just like if you think about a chainsaw, you lose control of that chainsaw, shit can get ugly. Same thing with anger. So kind of, I think that's a good way to frame anger up as an emotion, is think of it as a tool, and figure out how you need to effectively use it, because it's not something I think you can just erase, right? So it's, it's going to happen, right? So things that will cause you potentially to be angry are, when you feel threatened, and it's a protective emotion, right? So you feel threatened, you feel betrayed, you feel disrespected, and for me, it's all about your value set, and when somebody violates those, you may have that response, right? You may be angry or irritated, aggravated by their action, inaction, words, whatever. And you get to decide how you're going to respond to that. You can, fly off the handle. But I think it's important to, reel that in a little bit, because anger, while it is a tool we need, it's also something that can be very counterproductive when you let it get out of control.
I like the metaphor of it being a tool that you mentioned, and I had not heard that before in my research. I didn't actually connect those specific words. The concept was there, but not the specific words, and I like it. And you're right. I think especially, this is consistent with other topics that we have talked about that I think get worse in the modern day and age because of technology, or have the potential to get worse.
Right.
Because anger is everywhere, isn't it? I mean, it's everywhere. All you have to do is log on to your social media platform of choice, or no newspaper of choice,
Right.
and all of a sudden you can start to get angry because of the things that you're reading, the things that people are saying. I know Facebook is, I have many friends who, I'll meet with them on some occasion, and I'll hear how they got pissed off because somebody did something or wrote something, or, there's a
Right.
video, or there's something that, and it's
Facebook fight. Yeah.
There you go. Facebook.
That's crazy.
And so the other point that you made is that you have to keep it under control. Of course, there's a time and a place for anger, for all the reasons that you just said. But it ain't easy sometimes to keep it under control. And so you gotta work at it, and you have to identify it. And the other thing is, we've said this before, don't drink dirty water. If you're just feeding your anger every single day, then all of a sudden, that has physical, spiritual, relational manifestations.
Yeah.
All of that negative energy that you got going on constantly, feeding yourself.
Yeah. That internalized anger is caustic.
Yeah.
It just, it'll eat you up.
Yeah.
Not good for you.
Yeah.
Causes stress, and, there's nothing good about that. There, all kinds of research about how negative that can be on your body, your mind, etc.
So what do you think we do? Something angers you, and that's legit. It's a legit, valid emotion that pops into your brain.
Well, the first thing I think you have to do is you have to recognize that's what it is, right? You have to realize that I'm angry, or I'm aggravated, irritated, because I feel threatened. I feel disrespected. I feel betrayed, and identify what it is that you're feeling. Because I think it's easier to respond to it when you know what you're dealing with. What the trigger was. And then, you got to be aware enough in the moment to, reel yourself in if you need to make sure that you're responding in an appropriate manner, not something that you're going to regret later. It's there's a lot of self-actualization required there, and understanding of who you are and how you respond to stuff. And that's why, like you said, it's not a perfect science. It takes some time to improve, and you're not always going to get it right, because there's going to, there's levels of anything. And, this might be just something that, kind of makes you mad or kind of makes you angry. And then there might be something else that just is a huge violation. You go from 0 to really, really pissed off in a matter of seconds. So there's degrees of it as well. But I think the first thing is recognizing and acknowledging what you're feeling, and then identifying why it happened, etc.
It's pointing to something, right? Just like identifying it. Your anger is pointing that in your brain something is wrong.
Right.
And those with short fuses in particular, and there are, depending on what it is that's angering you, that can have an impact on the length of your fuse or not. But for those who have a tendency to just explode instantly when something angers them, that's the stuff that's really dangerous to you in the long term. It could be in the short term as well. Right. But in the long term, that's just eating at you on the inside.
That could be definitely a sign of more deep-seated issues that need some attention.
Yeah. So I think you're right. What you said is you just kind of got to stop for a second, count to 10, and say, all right, I'm angry. What is it truly that I'm angry about? And then once you take the time to sort of calm down a little bit in your head, then you can decide, now what am I going to do about it? Do I need to address it at all? Do I have any control over it? Is there anything that I can do? And if I can't do anything about it, why am I allowing that to, take over my brain and control my life for this moment?
Right.
It's completely out of your control. Maybe you just decide to let it go.
Yeah. You don't have control over the actions or inactions of others. The only thing you definitely have control over is how you respond to it. Right.
Yeah.
We covered that many times. E plus R equals O. Events, right? Shit's going to happen. You add your response into it. That's going to determine the outcome. So E plus R equals O.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
like the response, or you don't like the outcome that you're getting, then the only thing you have control over changing is your response. Or I guess in some ways you might have control over the events. And what I mean by that is removing yourself from certain scenarios where things are likely to occur that are going to irritate you or anger you.
Right. Right. Yeah, let me give you a specific real world example. And this popped to my mind just now, but as I hear you talk, I'm rolling through it. So we're in this just ended, this sort of national event, maybe international event, where this Chinese balloon was flying over America for several days in a row.
I haven't heard about this.
Okay, so
just kidding.
okay.
No, unless you're living under a rock, you've heard about this.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is going on, and just what we know about the world today, I don't personally believe this was an accident.
Oh, hell no.
It happened, and I think that they thought we weren't going to do anything about it, and we nearly didn't. I personally, I thought we took too long to do something about it. But anyway, all of that doesn't matter, because here's the point that I'm trying to make. As I read about this, several days in a row, it started to, not violently, but it first started out as a minor irritant, and then it got a little bit worse because it seemed like we weren't doing anything about it, and it started to anger me. And then I thought, there's nothing I can do about this, not a single thing,
Right.
And it's out of my control. And so I'm just going to let it go. This thing's going to work itself out one way or another, and we're going to know what happened at some point down the road. And we shot it down, but there's an example of you could just really get yourself wrapped around the axle on something.
Oh, yeah.
And just let it bug you like crazy and just stop. I mean,
I guess if you dig deep enough, right? I mean, on the surface level, you ask yourself the question, how does this really impact me? Well,
right.
In an immediate sense, it doesn't.
Right.
Now, could it have longer term implications on the safety and security of our country and the well-being of our society? Yeah. I think there's I personally, I think it was a test to see how we were going to respond. And, we got a failing grade on it, I think.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother discussion.
And it might lead to, okay, so I break it down. Here's this, I break it down into what is it? And maybe that means I go on a campaign to, at a future point in my life, starting today, to see what I can do to figure out these things and play a role in making sure they don't happen. That's what people do all the time. And that's legit as well.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I can't do anything about it.
No, and your example is great because I personally know people that, get themselves all worked up about stuff that really doesn't affect them on a, day-to-day basis. And,
right.
and I don't know, maybe sometimes it's, people are bored and they're just looking for something to do, and that gives them something that they can be passionate about. Now they're, they've got this cause and they've got some purpose because they can, share this with other people and feel, whatever about it. So maybe there's some of that going on. But I did want to bring up a point too when we were talking about the anger, and how you respond to it and how you have to catch yourself in the moment. I think it's important to have people that and trust in your life that you interact with that are aware of enough about you and your behavior and what you care about that they can recognize when something has triggered you and maybe you're starting to get a little wound up and you need not be. I think people in your circle, your inner circle, if you will, can be invaluable by helping you, right? And keeping you in check, if you will. Maybe a subtle comment or something that just hits you just right. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it. You're having this internal dialogue. You're not saying this out loud, but, somebody says something and you realize that, hey, this person just told me to freaking check myself before I wreck myself because I'm starting to go down a bad path. And you got to have people, I think, like that in your inner circle that are that know you well enough and give a shit enough to engage like that.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Good friend, husband, wife, partner, any of those people who see that, you're right. And they probably save you a multitude of negative consequences by doing that,
And
honestly.
it's weird too, man, because I've experienced that myself. And it's almost like somebody just reaches over because you know you're starting to get mad about something or irritated about something that happened. You feel threatened, and somebody reaches over, they say something. It's like they reach over and turn the switch off,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh, all right. Well, I guess I really don't need to be all that irritated about that. I need to just slow my roll here a little bit.
There you go. There you go. It's a good point. Very good point. And yeah, another quote that I thought of while I was thinking about this topic is, when you get angry, and not just angry, anything, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? And so, you're burning up in your head, your emotion is raging, you're angry. And if you snap or if you act on that, it's just, again, the physical, relational, spiritual manifestations. And what if somebody made you mad? That's possible. Somebody made you mad. They did something. They said something, like you said earlier. They disrespected you. You deal with it. You forgive them, and you move on, so that it doesn't eat you alive.
Right.
Don't
Live
let
to
it
enjoy another day. That's right.
Yeah,
Nobody has to die here.
yeah. Don't let it fester. Don't let it fester inside. That's really destructive. So
Yeah. And, I think it goes back to what is that phrase that we say at the end of every one of our podcasts? Enjoy the ride.
yeah,
You can't enjoy the ride and be pissed off about stuff all the time.
right,
Those two cannot coexist.
right.
So focus on enjoying the ride. And, when things do cause you to maybe spike a little bit and get angry about something, take that for what it is and deal with it accordingly. And don't let it, ruin your day.
There you go. Yeah, great topic. Seriously, it was a good reminder for me, as these things so often are, to just take a minute and think about those things that make me angry, probably every day, every single day. I can be angry about something.
Right.
And I'm
You
not
can be, right, because it's a choice. Yeah, you don't have to be. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, right. So thanks for suggesting the topic. It was great.
All right, you were certainly welcome. Well, thank you for the conversation, and for those of you that are listening or watching, relax. Don't be pissed off. Learn how to identify your anger and keep it in check, so that you can enjoy the ride every day.
Every
Be
day.
kind to other people.
And we're hoping you're all having a great week.
Yes, indeed. All right, I'm gonna reach over here and hit this button. You ready, man?
I'm ready.
All right, no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, make sure between this podcast and the next, you take time
To enjoy the ride.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.